Hello and welcome to episode 23 of the Spotlight Games podcast. My name is Patrick Schweigert and I am joined by you probably expect me to call him my sweet boy, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. My sweet, sweet boy, Kamen Darty. How are you, Kamen?
Patrick, I'm feeling tarnished.
Oh boy, here we go.
Feeling tarnished.
Can you believe it? Can you believe it, folks?
This is such a funny.
I can't wait once we start talking about that, I can't wait for you to tell a story about why you're playing Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But we also have some other Elden Ring things I want to talk about today. But we'll get into it after some housekeeping, because this is the Spotlight Games podcast, where each and every week we're going to talk about the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel or by subscribing in your favorite podcast app of your choice. And hey, while you're there, why not leave us a review, leave us a rating if the feed allows it. We would hope that it would be 5 stars, but if not, tell us why. Because we want to make you happy. Don't forget, you can be on the show by emailing us your thoughts and questions to mail@spotlightgames.net. You can DM us on Twitter @SpotGamesPod or on Instagram @SpotlightGamesPodcast. Our newest episode of Save Trash Cinema is out now. It came out only a couple days ago. It is a St. Patty's Day extravaganza where we go through the film Leprechaun, starring one Jennifer Aniston and one Warwick Davis. We're drinking when we watch it.
Boy, did we drink.
And I listened to it earlier today on the day of recording, and we get rowdy, folks.
Whoa. Yeah, it's a mess.
It is a mess.
If you want to hear Save Trash Cinema at its absolute, like, the most unhinged you can imagine it being, guess what? We got an episode for you, because it starts off so strong, and then by the end, well, just listen for yourself. You're gonna be disappointed.
Friend of the show, Mikey, does a lot of this. He just gets right on the mic and just kind of gives us his thoughts. And I'm honestly here for it.
It's crazy. It's absolutely
amazing. So go give that a download, give it a listen. But this week on this show, Kamen, I would say that we have a great show for our listeners.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about you starting up Elden Ring. I want to talk about again, another thing Elden Ring related that I'm teasing one last time before we actually talk about it. So we're going to hear your initial impressions. We're going to talk about Forspoken. It's been delayed. We're going to talk about the God of War TV series that has been announced. And then we also want to do put our heads together and talk about some game franchises that we want to come back. Some that are maybe dormant. They're in the wings, waiting to be called on stage. So we're going to talk about those. But first, why don't we start with what we've been playing, Kamen, which is you have been playing
Elden Ring.
I've
been playing,
which if you're watching the video, you'll see I'm holding up a steelbook case of Elden Ring, because I want to announce, as I teased on socials today, we're going to be doing an Elden Ring giveaway. So keep your eyes peeled to our Instagram and our Twitter. The Instagram itself, or the contest itself, is going to be on Instagram, but we'll also announce that it's happening on Twitter. So we're going to be giving away a copy for PlayStation. So it's going to be for PS4 or PS5. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But Kamen, why don't you tell our audience your initial impressions of the game so they can know whether or not they want to enter this giveaway?
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
it's very different. This is not a game that I think has ever been made. I mean, sure, it's Dark Souls plus, right? It's Dark Souls in an open world, but it's so much different than that.
How so?
Well, I mean, if anyone's ever played Dark Souls is very ambiguous on the story. It's ambiguous on what you're doing. There's not a lot of tells as to what the end goal is. But Dark Souls is normally a linear type game. You might have some branching paths in which you might be able to get to point A to point B via some unique methods. But ultimately, you are led down very much a path. It guides you to go where you need to go, everywhere you need to do it. Elden Ring is not like that. Elden Ring is far from that. To the extent that I would say, in the 5 hours that I put into it, and this is like 5 hours in this game is absolutely nothing. Is absolutely nothing. I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. I am so completely lost. I am so confused. This game is brutally difficult, and people say like that it's like a baby's first Dark Souls. I think
Mm,
that that's absolute bullshit.
yeah. Do you think the reason that you might be so confused on what to do is because the reason you bought this game is because you were shit-faced drunk and
Yes.
don't even remember purchasing the video game?
Yes. So a little insight into
Yeah,
that.
tell that
Look,
story.
we when we mentioned the Save Jar Cinema episode, we did a drunk cast. Um, we drank about a handle and a half of Jameson, and at some point, I blacked out. I don't remember, pretty much remember even recording the episode for Save Trash Cinema, but even more so, do not remember anything that happened afterwards. The next day, I woke up. Sydney, my fiance, she got on. She was playing Horizon, and she was like, "Did you know that Elden Ring is downloaded on your console?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And she was like, "It's downloaded on the console." I was like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me." Apparently, when I was drunk, um, I downloaded it. I'm assuming my confidence level was a lot higher at the time than it is today.
Did you talk to Mikey at
Uh,
all about it? Like, did he coerce you into buying it? Because I know he's very into the game at the moment.
yeah, he doesn't remember either.
That's amazing. That is so
Neither
funny.
one of us can remember anything. We like vaguely remember recording, and outside of that, we don't like everything that's been told to us has been told to us by Sydney.
My
And they're like,
perspective, if I may. So
sure.
we record, I forget what day it was. Was it a
Like
Friday?
Wednesday. It was
Wednesday.
Wednesday of last week, yeah.
So we record last Wednesday and you texted me Thursday morning, and you're like asking me like my thoughts on it. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it was a drunk podcast. And we talk about, generally how the podcast went. And then you texted me like 3 hours later and you're like, apparently I bought Elden Ring. So it was so funny to me that you had all morning and we had talked about the episode at length. And you still had no idea you had bought
None.
Elden Ring until Sydney
None
turned on your
whatsoever.
console.
Yeah. And so because of that, I was like, well, fuck, it's there now. I have to play it. Like, I don't
Yeah,
have an excuse not to play it now. I have
correct.
to play it. I spent money on this game.
Correct.
And so here we are. Look, man, I'm getting my ass kicked
Yeah.
left and
Getting it
right.
spanked.
And oh, horribly. I've probably died in 5 hours 15 times,
Okay.
probably. I will say the cool thing is that you have your horse. And so a lot of times if you get into because it is very much an open world.
Mhm.
Everything I've done so far, anytime I feel like there's no way for me to get out of the situation that's going to end with me alive, I'll just get on my horse and take off running.
Gotcha.
And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
The game is tough. I've pretty much played because I'm rolling off the heels of Horizon, which is very fluid. It's very fast paced.
Yeah.
Um, I've pretty much played the entire game so far in nothing but my underwear.
Okay.
That's the only way for me to be able to move quickly in my character build is to be pretty much naked.
Which build
Um,
did you go with?
so I went with Vanguard. I put
Okay.
it out to on Twitter and asked and was like, "Hey, like I have no clue what I'm doing." And I honestly had like stage fright for days. That's why I only started up today is because I'm like, there's like 10 classes to pick from, and I'm like, I don't want to fuck my build up, and I want to make sure I'm doing this right. And so I put it out, and the consensus was Vanguard is the best for me.
Got
And I am not sure if that's still the case. I definitely feel I've already fucked up some stuff already where I had to pretty much like do a whole extra horde of shit to be able to get a summoning bell to be able to have spirit summons, which apparently you can get right off the bat,
Oh,
and you
wow.
should. And I fucked that up. So, like I said, it doesn't tell you anything. There's no HUD. The map has no markers on it. You have to put your own markers if you want them. There's no telling you that you should go this direction or that direction. I mean, there it does like they kind of guide you to be like, hey, you should go fight the first boss right off the bat. And
Huh.
luckily for me, I know enough about the game to know like, hey, don't do that because you're going to
Yeah.
get your teeth kicked in repeatedly. And I've fought like a mini boss in the open world, and I got it maybe a quarter health down and get my teeth kicked in.
Sure.
So I feel incredibly underleveled. I am absolutely confused as to what the fuck is going on, where I am, what I'm doing, how to do
Sounds
it. Half the
miserable.
time I'm like in panic and combat, and I'm like just chugging from my flask, my Estus flask. It's not called an Estus. I don't even know what it's called. It's like a healing potion
Full of Jameson.
and full of Jameson and giving that liquid courage. And I'm doing that, and I'm like, no, I shouldn't be doing that. I should be on my fucking horse, or I'll go to heal and then get on my horse. And I'm like, this is a mess.
Yikes.
I'm a fucking mess. So I definitely have. I don't want to. I'm not giving up on it.
Yeah.
Do I think that it has the potential to rope me in? Yes.
Great.
That is if I can learn how to play the game
Okay.
the way that I need to play the game.
Yeah.
And the game is very difficult. I'm not very good at these types of games, but I'm not giving up yet.
Good.
I'm gonna go back. I've got 5 hours in. I've kind of explored a little bit of the area. I've picked up a part of the map so I can at least see the small area that I'm in.
Okay.
What's going on? Because you don't even get a map. You have to find
Why
portions
would you?
of maps. Yeah, because they hate you. FromSoft hates you. And so where we are right now, I'm just need to put my nose to the grindstone and hopefully I get good because as of right now, I my skill level is between ass and a dumpster on fire. So
I think we call that the taint.
I'm currently sitting at the taint.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm hoping that I can finish Horizon Forbidden West soon so that we can go on this journey together because I plan on diving headfirst into Elden Ring. I'm getting close. I'm like 53% of the way through in terms of total completion, but I only have like 3 or 4 main quests left.
Sure.
So I would expect by next episode, I'm probably done with that and hopefully have started Elden Ring. We'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm starting to get like a little like flickering of burnout on this game just because of how big it is and how I'm playing it. It's kind of my own fault. Like I want to check all the boxes.
Sure.
I think I might need to just turn my focus to golden pathing it and then circling back to do whatever else I need for the platinum if I want to get it, which I probably will. But I had an experience today where all of a sudden I was like, I forget, am I playing on performance mode or resolution mode? And I was playing on performance mode and I turned it to resolution mode and I was like, holy shit, this game all of a sudden looks like it's in slow motion because I've been playing at 60 frames for 44 hours. So I promptly turned it back to performance, but man, the game, it runs so well.
Yeah, I will say, and something to kind of piggyback off of what you said, on Twitter, there's a lot of debate where a lot of people are like, Elden Ring is so much more beautiful than Dark Souls than Horizon. And I don't agree, but I also think you're comparing apples to oranges too.
Right.
Character models do not look nearly as good. The voice acting, what little bit you do get of voice acting because you randomly will meet an NPC and they tell you like 2 lines and that's all you get, is not on par. They are very different games. And I think Elden Ring has a really unique art style to it that's very different. If you've played Dark Souls, you'll get more of a feel for what you're probably going to experience.
Yeah.
But Horizon is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Like it is visually stunning in a way that games have never been able to achieve. Elden Ring is it looks really good. And it plays very smooth. I'm playing it at 60 frames per second and it's very fluid. But it doesn't have that same pizzazz that I think Horizon has.
Which I think is probably art style. It's like art direction, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm interested to see because I keep hearing that it's really, really gorgeous, but then I see screenshots and I'm like, huh, maybe I need to just see it for myself. But
apples to oranges.
Yeah.
100% apples to oranges situation.
They're both fruit, but they taste very different, Kamen.
Yep. Very much.
Well, I would like to talk about, so we have, as our listeners know, Fantasy Critic, we picked a bunch of games that are coming out in 2022 and their open critic scores are giving us points and whoever has the most points at the end of the season wins. And right now, Kamen, you are just kicking our teeth in with a whopping 67 points. Granted, you have had 4 releases to my 2 and Evan's 1, but what was supposed to be my next release, Forspoken, has been unfortunately Delayed. This is directly from Luminous Productions' Twitter account. And for those of you who might not remember, Forspoken is going to be a PlayStation exclusive, I believe. It's like a third-person action adventure game. New IP, looks really cool. But this is what they said. We have made the decision to move the release date of Forspoken to October 11th, 2022. Our vision for this exciting new IP is to deliver a game world and hero that gamers across the globe will want to experience for years to come. So getting it right is extremely important to us. To that end, during the next few months, we will focus all of our efforts on polishing the game and can't wait for you to experience Frey's journey this fall. Thank you for your understanding and continued support. We look forward to sharing more about Forspoken with you soon. My initial reaction to this Kamen was disappointment because I was like, oh, it's been delayed and it's close to the end of the year, so maybe it might not come out this year. But you made a very good point that I am now stealing and making my own, even though I am giving you full credit, is that it's such a long delay that I feel like I will be surprised if now that you've said this, I will be surprised if it gets delayed again, because this is giving them what, 7 more months?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
7 months is a pretty long time.
Yeah, no, to as you said, I think that this is a good sign. I think that this is more of a sign that we will see it. If this was like a month out from release and then they said, hey, we're delaying the game, I have a feeling at that point, then there's a chance we might not see it at all.
Yeah.
Or not at all, but at least in 2022.
Yeah.
Part of me is a little curious as to, because the delays come so soon. Like,
right.
So, and then it's rolling right off the heels of both Horizon and Elden Ring. It makes you wonder if, like, what is the reason that you guys are delaying it? Obviously, you're not going to be able to change the actual core mechanics of the game in such a short period. Like, that would take years,
right,
to be able to, a game presumably this size, to be able to like change the mechanics to be something like Horizon or something like Elden Ring.
Right.
But it could very well be just like, hey, we need more time, more time to polish. We need more time to, to get this up to standards coming off the heels of the other games. And we don't know if by May we'll be able to accomplish that. So I think this is a good move for them too. Also, you're getting it you're kind of pushing it more towards the holiday season.
Yeah.
And so far, I think really the only, at least off the top of my head, the only really big holiday game is going to be Starfield, which is an Xbox exclusive. So this could be Sony's way of like, hey, we're going to give more time, more polish, more, if we need to fix anything, we can fix it. Also, we have the ability now to have a game that's going to go up against Starfield and kind of set the tone for the holiday season. So, I don't think this is a bad thing. Whoa.
Yeah, that was a big thunder.
Yeah, it's cracking off here. Yeah, it's storming on the day we're recording. So
yeah. I think part of this is as of recording tomorrow, so as of release yesterday, there's going to be a state of play from PlayStation. They're going to talk about some new games. I feel like this is probably part of the reason that they put it out this week before that, is so that people weren't like, hey, this game's coming out in 2 months and why are you not talking about it? And their big state of play, even though they said that's going to have a focus on Japanese published games, but still. So yeah, we'll keep everyone posted on any updates there. But yeah, I even though I'm disappointed I won't be getting points soon, hopefully that means I will get more points in October. Next up, so this is an exciting one. We've been hearing a lot this year about all sorts of video game franchises coming to film, to TV, to all sorts of different media. And we have another one. And this one is in the form of God of War, supposedly is having a TV series in development at Amazon Kamen.
Interesting.
So this is from Deadline. Deadline broke this yesterday on day of recording. This is from Nelly Andriva at Deadline. She says, exclusive. PlayStation's flagship action-adventure franchise God of War is heading to television. Prime Video is in negotiations for a live-action TV series based on the hugely popular ancient mythology-themed game, sources said. I hear the series adaptation comes from The Expanse creators / executive producers Mark Fergus and Hawk Ostby, and the Wheel of Time executive producer / showrunner Rafe Judkins, as well as Sony Pictures Television and PlayStation Productions, which collaborate on all TV series based blah, 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 blah. This would mark the latest big deal for a TV series based on a popular video game title in the red hot streaming marketplace for gaming IP. Peacock just landed another Sony Pictures slash PlayStation property, Twisted Metal, with a series order and Anthony Mackie starring. HBO obviously has The Last of Us coming soon. Netflix apparently has a Resident Evil TV show in the works. Paramount Plus has Halo coming out in just a couple short months. And then also there's the last bit of this surprised me. I don't think I knew about some of these. So apparently Amazon Studios is also working on a Fallout series starring Walton Goggins. Had no idea. I did know about the Mass Effect series. We've talked about that. And then apparently there's a first look deal with some, like it's with a gaming IP that they've not announced yet. But all of that to say, Sony is leaning hard into TV and film. And how do you feel, Kamen, about a God of War TV series being in development? Does it excite you? Does it worry you?
Until we get more details, yes. And the reason why is because God of War has 5 games before the Norse mythology. Is that right? There's
Yeah.
God of War
1,
1, 2,
2,
3,
3.
Ascension, and then Ghost of Sparta. That was the
There
PSP.
were 2 PSP games, so I think
Okay,
6.
so 6 games total before. So there's a lot of mythology and lore for God of War before we even got to the new, like in the Norse area.
You're right.
So for me, there's a little bit of a worry that they might potentially try to just jump straight into the Norse mythology portion.
Great point.
Which, if they do, then I feel like that's going to be difficult. They're going to have to do a lot of flashback stuff to try to explain everything. I would prefer this to be set in ancient Greece and start from the beginning and work its way up,
Yeah.
because it's super cool. Now, the thing that gets me excited is this being from the guys who produced The Expanse, which The Expanse seasons on Amazon are just mind-boggling in terms of production quality. Like, it is insane. And so Amazon's got a lot of money, and with producers like that know how to produce like a very large scale, like a movie, but it's TV show, I think that that's a really cool thing. But yeah, I think this has a ton of potential if they can land if they go to ancient Greece first, they have to land it.
Yeah.
I think that might be the trickiest, mainly because God of War is known more so for its incredibly large cinematic boss fights.
Right.
Whereas the reboot of God of War, that was in the Norse mythology one, that was more personal, more connected to Kratos and Atreus' relationship.
Yeah.
And so I think that those are 2 very different stories and 2 very different styles that you could pull from. So how they go about it, how they do it, is going to be interesting to me.
Yeah.
So I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
But there is a little worry. Now, moving off, I had no clue about the Fallout, but I think Walter Goggins is a fantastic choice
I love him
for Fallout. That's great. I love that. Twisted Metal is a TV show.
Ugh.
I don't
understand
it. I am curious to see what ends up happening.
Yeah.
It's going to Peacock, which is also interesting.
Got a little pulling of the collar there. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be a hit. I have a feeling that's going to be more missed than anything else.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Mass Effect, I think, has a lot of potential to be just a really good show.
Yeah.
Because there's so much there that you can work off of. And then I'm curious as to what the mystery IP.
Yeah, that was interesting too. What I don't understand, the way that the article is written, it's unclear if the mystery IP is something that, like, the gaming IP hasn't even come out yet. Like, I'm wondering if it's like a new IP or if they're just saying, like, I don't know. It's kind of worded weirdly, but yeah, with God of War, I feel like I've played parts of 1 and 2 and the PSP ones and the newest one. So I didn't play 3 or Ascension. And the reason I never played all of them is because they were fun games, but Kratos at that time was just an incredibly one-note character. But that kind of one-noteness ended up really serving the story. Like, they made it work in the newest games. And so my biggest concern is are they able to adapt it if they stay in Greece at first? Are they able to adapt it and make Kratos interesting? Because the truth with TV is if you don't have an interesting main character, for the most part, I mean, there are shows that where the main character is not interesting and they've been very successful. I'm looking at you, Lost, but
Yeah.
but in this day with how much like content overload there is, if the character of Kratos is not interesting, then I feel like the show very potentially like has the chance of failing unless the budget can save it and it's just a fun popcorn thing. But and also like total side question, is there anyone as ripped as Kratos that is an actor? Like how do they, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. That's I'm worried more about the voice.
sure.
Kratos has such a commanding, authoritative voice.
Right.
And, I don't think you could take someone like Jason Momoa, who is probably the
Boy.
closest to Kratos's physique. I don't think you could take him and drop him into God of War and then him be like, "Hey, it's me, it's me, Jason Momoa. I'm Kratos now." Like
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
doesn't work. Maybe like Bautista.
Too old,
I
I
think,
think.
yeah, that's the one thing I think he is too old. But I think I think Bautista has the same, build, the same
Yeah, for
like
sure.
just. So I don't know.
I mean, honestly, The Rock does, but if The Rock is Kratos, I will be very upset.
Yeah. Honestly, I think like it's what they'll probably end up doing is they're probably going to pick some random person that no one's ever heard of before, which is fine. Um, I mean,
Kevin
whoever
Bacon.
it is going to have to be jacked. This dude is crazy as a beefcake. He's a beefcake.
He really is. This dude
Um,
is. He can lift up entire trees. He's so jacked.
yeah.
But
So
yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. But I'm excited for it. I feel like the way PlayStation seems to be going, like their angle into film and TV right now is what of our IP has the strongest storylines, with the obvious exception being Twisted Metal. That's the
yes,
only one where I'm like, this one doesn't make sense. But Last of Us, now God of War, like these, they seem to be leaning into the really story heavy ones, which I think is what excites me the most. But
yeah,
we will
I
keep
agree.
our eyes on that as soon as we hear more about that. We will be talking about it. But Kamen, all this talk about God of War and its earliest iterations has me thinking about the past. Kamen
Mhm.
has me thinking about games of yesteryear, of yesterday. And you and I were talking today before recording, and we came up with an idea of a topic for today that I'm excited about, which is what gaming franchises need to come back. There are a lot out there right now that are on their way back. Things like Dead Space, things like Knights of the Old Republic, Mario Strikers coming
Mario
back. That would
Strikers.
have been on my list had we not
Yeah,
gotten that
yeah,
announcement a few weeks
absolutely.
ago. I mean, Skate, Fable, Prince of Persia, Beyond Good and Evil, if that ever happens, which it probably won't. There's now rumors of Sly Cooper coming back. There's rumors of Infamous coming back, which those can be on our list since they're not official if we want them to. But there's a lot of things that are coming back. There's also a ton more out there that have been gone. They've been dormant for a while. So why don't we go back and forth and talk about some franchises that we think should come back to the calendar year 2022 and beyond to reinvigorate us, Cayman. Let's bring
Mhm.
back some classics. Hit me with a classic. What do you want to come back, Cayman?
My first game that I want to come back is Need for Speed Underground. And give me a
Ooh,
Need for Speed Underground 3. Look,
ooh,
Need for Speed has been very hit and miss. Um, it is, at least in its latest iterations, they haven't been fantastic,
mm-mm.
but they've also been releasing them so sporadically that they're just kind of there floating somewhere. Now, I think Need for Speed Underground 3 would be fantastic. We've seen with Forza, we've seen with Gran Turismo, you can make cars look incredible, and you also don't need a story. Um, Need for Speed Underground 2 had a little bit of a story, it
Sure,
was lacking, but give me an open world set in, Tokyo or set in New York, and give me the ability to use those beautiful graphics that we currently have and just soup out some silly fucking cars.
mm,
I want to get back into the Fast and the Furious days of like street racing with some of these wild, just like I think Need for Speed 2 had an incredible soundtrack. Then the car customization options at the time were incredible. I think today's audience could really be served up a more arcade style, because a lot of these new racing games that we're getting, they're more simulation style games, right? And so I think it's time for a new arcade racer with incredible customization options, with an open world to be driving around the streets, slapping on some fucking Lil Jon
Ooh.
booming from the
Oh yeah.
subwoofers out of the back of your Honda Civic.
Look, when you
Incredible.
said Tokyo, this is all I could think of.
Ooh, yeah.
If we could get a Need for Speed Tokyo Drift game, are you fucking kidding me?
Oh my god, that would be.
Kamen.
Oh,
Oh God.
ooh.
Also, while I pulled up, I just remembered I've been meaning to show you this. I pulled up my phone for the mic. I got this little Spotlight Games little pop socket wallet
Oh
for my
shit, that's dope
phone.
as
Goes a
hell.
little MagSafe magnet there.
Ooh,
How about that?
I love it.
How about that? But
I
yeah,
love it.
Need for Speed, great call. Great call. Is that when we were texting about that, you were like, the one I'm most excited about is that one, or is it, are you
Yes.
saying, is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one that would be most excited. And don't get me wrong, all of these I'd be very excited
oh,
about.
for sure.
But
For sure.
Need for Speed Underground coming back would be like highlight of my decade.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the first one that I thought of when you had this idea was immediately I went to NHL hits / just EA big in general. Give me Blitz, give me SSX, like which we've talked about this before, right? Like, but I had to use the opportunity to say again, we need more arcade sports and fewer simulation sports, because right now all we have is simulation sports, and they're fun, but like I want to be able to check someone so hard that the boards break and they're out for the rest of the game and their heads are the size of the screen. That's what I want. Is that so much to ask?
I actually had on my list Blitz the League. Not
Ooh,
NFL
okay.
Blitz, but Blitz the League was one that I had. But I'm removing it now because I feel like we've addressed this.
Sure.
But yeah, man, like arcade sports games. Like I don't need these sim games.
Yeah.
Those are fun and fine, and there's a huge audience for them. But give me something that's that visceral, like you hit somebody so hard their back snaps.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I want that shit.
And like, so I was reading a thing not too long ago. Apparently, part of the reason that Blitz doesn't happen anymore is because the NFL didn't want it to happen because of like CTE and all these issues with, and like it like promotes violence in the sport. But like, okay, maybe not Blitz. Let's just do it in hockey, where part of the game still is fighting.
Yeah,
like if you guys are promoting fighting within a game, then I think we can beat each other up.
What about like NHL meets Mortal Kombat, where you can actually pull fatalities on Grain Wetsky?
Grain Wetsky?
Grain Wetsky, whatever the fuck his name
Grain
is.
Wetsky sounds like the crunchy version of Wayne Gretzky. All he eats is grains.
He's just shoving his face full of Wheaties the whole time. Just like gobbling them up.
That's amazing. Number 2 came, and what else you want?
What about you? You haven't done one yet.
All right, yeah, I just did NHL hits.
Okay, NHL hits. All right, for me, my number 2, and this is going to come as no surprise to anyone in the audience who's ever heard me talk about video games. Bulletstorm.
Oh, I had the first 4 letters with you.
You did. Bulletstorm. Look, we just need more games like Bulletstorm. I don't need games to be 70 hours long. I don't need games to be super realistic. I want to be able to use this weird, unexplained leash that you can use to throw people up in the air and shoot their balls off.
Hey.
While also just saying dick jokes for 7 straight hours.
Sure.
I love Bulletstorm. I think those kind of ridiculous shooters. I mean, you've got stuff like Doom, and there's like a whole world on PC that doesn't even come to consoles where they like remake or make like those kind of arcade fast-paced shooters like that. Shadow Warrior 3, for instance, coming out. And so I think Bulletstorm, there's a world and there's an audience for Bulletstorm 2.
Sure.
and that franchise has been dead and has been dead for a long time. But I think you could bring it back. I think you could bring it back, and at least I'll play it.
I'm not the audience, but I agree that we need more of those games, like Doom, like these like quick, fast-paced shooters that are
Yeah,
just for fun. Like we don't
yeah,
need them to be a sweeping epic story. People just sometimes want to kill shit,
yeah.
and Bulletstorm is a great vehicle for that. Um, yeah, I support that, even though I probably wouldn't play it. I thought you were going to say Bully. I almost had it there,
I
which
almost
makes me
had it.
kind of want to use that as my second one, but I'm going to put it in my pocket in case neither of us say it. Kamen, did you ever play a video game?
Mhm.
I don't know the year, but it was the 90s called Dino Crisis.
Yes. I actually almost put that on my list.
I would, so 2019, one of my favorite games, probably my game of that year was Resident Evil 2, the remake of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Give me a Dino Crisis in that engine.
Oh, yeah.
Give me a spooky game where instead of zombies, it's dinos. And I'm trying to solve some sort of a mystery, and I gotta survive from some raptors and some fucking other dinosaurs. That's what I want.
Yeah.
That's
I
all, like,
I
that's give me it. Gimme.
I think that I honestly am shocked. And maybe not shocked. I guess it kind of makes sense because for Capcom, Resident Evil is such a huge franchise
Right.
that for them just to continue to do remakes of those games works. But I am shocked that they haven't gone out on a limb and tried doing something like Dino Crisis. I
I
think Dino
agree.
Crisis is a perfect game for this generation. I think there's a huge audience for Dino Crisis, and if you did a decent enough marketing push behind it, it could be Resident Evil 2 again,
Sure.
like the remake again. And I think that I agree 100% with you. I think Dino Crisis 2 or Dino not Dino Crisis. I mean, there's Dino Crisis 2 and I think a 3. I think yeah, there's a world for it. Capcom, you need to get your shit together.
Capcom, look at us right now. Look at us in the eyes.
Look at us. Look at us.
Dino Crisis is what the people want. We want to be in a game with dinos that aren't robots. Robot dinos are cool,
They
Horizon,
are
but we
cool.
want dinos
We
in a
want real
Resident Evil
ones.
village or a Resident Evil
Yeah.
2 type way. So,
Can you imagine like the whole
gimme.
setup from Resident Evil 2 where they have like the tyrant following you the whole time? Except this time it's a fucking T-Rex. I mean, they kind of do it in Dino Crisis, but like
God.
just have that ever looming fear that the
Ugh.
T-Rex is going to be around a corner and is going to rip your ass to shreds.
And look, if
Mm,
you guys are too much of a coward to make it, just put dinos in the next Resident Evil. Give me dinos and zombies. Give
yeah.
me dino
You give us
zombies.
you give us werewolves last time and
Yeah.
vampires and shit. Give us some fucking dinosaurs,
Yeah.
Capcom. Stop
You
being
gave
some
it
cowards.
you gave us like a little ventriloquist doll in a house. Give me a
Yeah,
dino.
you give us a big old slimy fetus flopping around everywhere. Give us a fucking dinosaur, bro.
Look, if
Fucking nerd.
fetus, then dino. It's simple math.
Simple math.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor. What? So what else for you, Cayman? What's number 3 for you?
Bully.
Yeah,
You know, it was when you said it, I was like, damn it, he's gonna call me out on this later. But yes, I have Bully on my list.
yeah. It was on my list too.
There's been rumors for years that we
Years.
were gonna get a Bully 2 or a remake of Bully. I think the issue is Rockstar has that Grand Theft Auto money, and they really
Yeah,
do not give a flying fuck about
they
anything
really
else.
don't.
And it also kind of makes you wonder if the reason why we're not getting more because Rockstar is massive. They
Huge.
aren't some. They're not like a Naughty Dog or I mean Naughty Dog's big, but like they're not like a normal developer. Rockstar is. There's like 8 different headquarters like studio locations for
Yeah.
Rockstar, and all they're doing is making Grand Theft Auto, and it's like guys, come the fuck on.
Yeah. 'Cause I
Like
don't even know if they're really doing any more content for Red Dead. I feel like it's just
yeah,
they
I mean,
might
they've
be,
got
but
Red Dead Online, and honestly, I you never hear about any updates or
never.
expansions or anything like that, but it's just constant. It's just constantly Grand
Yeah.
Theft Auto, and part of me wonders if that's because 2K is like pulling the strings there, being like, no, we just need more money.
Yeah.
So, but they've got so much
So
money,
much.
they could easily take one of their studios, branch them off, and do Bully. Now,
Yeah.
I understand we live in a different world now than we did when Bully came out. And so that might be difficult to have a game where you actively play someone who verbally and physically assaults students.
Sure.
So maybe it doesn't work. But I think with the Rockstar's ability to tell a story and their ability just to be controversial,
Yeah.
it's
And
Rockstar.
like make it a so you start out as do it like the Assassin's Creed formula, like the old Assassin's Creed formula. You start as a bully, and then something happens and you're like, you know what? I don't need to be a bully, but there are other bullies at the school that I need to stop.
Yeah. Well, I
You know
mean,
what I
that's
mean?
kind of how they did the first game
Yeah,
was
see,
like,
it's been so long, I kind of forget the
yeah,
way the
it's
story
kind of how
went.
they did. You show up as the bully and you pick on the nerds and stuff, and then you get bullied by the jocks and you get bullied by the greasers or whatever. And so you end up becoming like the bully to the bullies. Like you
Yeah.
can do it again.
Just do it
You
again.
can and set it back in like the 90s. Like
Sure.
we don't need it to be like modern day. Like set or you go back even further. Like set this shit in the
70s.
80s.
Ooh.
Ooh, 70s. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
give me a
70s or
funky
80s.
soundtrack.
Oh, hell yeah. That boom, 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 boom,
Uh-huh.
boom.
I'm
Oh,
riding my
man.
bike around fucking Philadelphia.
You know, we're talking about this. I almost substituted Bully. Now, I almost put Manhunt.
Never played it.
Manhunt, for the audience who is uninitiated, Manhunt was an incredibly controversial game when it came out. Essentially, you play a person who's been broke out of prison. You are a murderer, and you are basically contracted by a mysterious person who is telling you that you must kill these different gangs that are popped up from in these different areas while all of it's being videotaped and they're selling it online. It is the fact that the game even came out with that, and there's two
Weird.
of them. There's two of them, and it is incredibly violent. It
Didn't
is
Rockstar develop that?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Rockstar game. But that's what I'm saying. Like they're
Yeah.
known for being controversial,
For sure. For sure.
and the game was I think the game works because it works as a horror game.
Okay.
Like it is a stealth game. You get your ass kicked if you don't play it like that. And the violent content is more of an accessory to just how fucked up this world that they've created is.
Sure.
And I don't think that there is a world in which a manhunt game could ever exist again.
Interesting. Was the controversial part of it that you played as a convicted murderer? Or was
The
it more than that?
controversial part was a lot of it was the kills.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. Okay.
You would use like trash bags over people's heads and suffocate them, barbed wire
Interesting. Okay.
bats.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there was and you know, it's definitely a game that existed and it's a game that really pushed some boundaries. And just literally do not think that there is a world in which this game could ever be released again.
Huh.
Um, maybe on Steam and it somehow passed on Steam because there's some weird shit that's gotten passed on Steam, but this would never be released on consoles. Like I just
Interesting.
don't think it ever, especially with today's graphics, there's no fucking way.
Huh.
But, you know, I mean, love to see it.
Love to see it. You love to see it.
Love to see
Honestly.
it.
Next one for me is it might be a little bit of a cop out, but honestly, it's been one that I've been wanting for so long. And there have been reports recently that apparently Valve is making some games behind the curtains. So my next one is Half-Life. Continue Half-Life. Give me Half-Life 3. It's a bit of a cop out, but and then like a sub answer would be I want more Portal. I might even want more Portal more than I want more Half-Life. In fact, I do want Portal more than I want Half-Life.
Yeah, same here.
But it's like
I
at
don't
this point, it's like the white whale of video games is Half-Life
yeah.
3. So like I want
Dude,
it.
yeah, it's I mean, we got Half-Life Alex, which was like a prequel to Half-Life 2, and that worked. And people loved it.
Oh, I forgot about Alex. This one kind of
And
doesn't even count because we just got
yeah,
Half-Life.
well, I mean, I think it does count probably more than anything. Because it was a prequel to a game that people didn't want a prequel to.
Right. They just wanted the sequel.
But they got it and they loved it. And it got incredible reviews, and everyone who's played it speaks incredibly highly of it. And it was a VR game.
Right.
So the audience was very limited.
And it was on the most expensive of all the VR consoles.
Yeah.
So it was there was like 2 barriers to entry.
Yeah. So it's a very limited audience. So I think you're safe in saying Half-Life 3, but I think you were also correct in saying this is the white whale of video games. And how do you follow up probably the most influential game of all time.
Right. And at this
I
point,
don't think
it's been like, gosh, when did Half-Life 2 Part 2 come out?
probably
Half-Life
like
2
2005,
Episode 2 release.
maybe earlier.
2007. So it's been
So
15
close to.
years.
Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't put it past anyone at Valve to do it. And I think that they probably are going to make an incredible game if they do it. But the expectations of what the game will be are so wide and varied at this
Right.
point. Like, I think too much time has passed for realistic expectations to be placed on what it would be or what it
Yeah.
is. But I think Portal 3 would be a game that there is really no expectations.
Yeah. Sure.
Because Portal 1 and Portal 2 are incredibly similar games. There's not a lot that's different in terms of the way the game works. The story, obviously, how do you make that work? Obviously, someone a lot smarter than me could make that work and make it work really well. But I think that would be there. The expectations would be met. Whereas I just don't think so with Half-Life 3. I think people would be there would be some contingent that would be just furious because it's not what they wanted. And how do you review a game like that? Like,
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
tough. And that's so I could see why someone would be like, no, we'll never touch this again.
Well, at the same time, though, like there's always going to be a subsection of video games that hate everything.
Fair.
You know what I
That's
mean? So
very
like,
fair.
and there's got to be someone out there that has just a golden idea for how Half-Life 3 works, because Half-Life 2 ended on a cliffhanger. Like so someone had an idea already, it just never got made. So
I agree.
let's bring it back. Let's start it right now. Let's bring it back.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Bring
All
it back,
right.
boys.
My number 4 game, Sleeping Dogs.
Ooh.
Sleeping Dogs is my favorite open world GTA style game.
Okay.
I enjoyed Sleeping Dogs so much more than I enjoyed actual Grand Theft Auto. I love the story. I love the fact that it was set in China. I love the fact that it was just something we have never seen before.
Yeah.
And sure, it took pretty much all of the stuff from Grand Theft Auto that they had done.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was a gorgeous game. The setting and locale was so interesting and so unique and so cool.
Wasn't Emma Stone in that game?
She was indeed.
Bring her back.
Yeah, bring her back. Bring her back. Bring her back. No, I think Sleeping Dogs is one of those that was unfortunately, pun intended, slept on.
I agree.
And it's super underrated. There was like more focus on like hand-to-hand combat and doing like actual like kung fu moves than like actual gunplay, but the gunplay still felt really good and honestly felt better than Grand Theft Auto in my eyes. But a lot of it is just the world. You doing the Chinese triad and having like those gang wars in China. It's like, I feel like that's like an untapped market. But and there's a lot of history as to like what happened leading up in the game and why it was actually a true crimes game at one point. And then that got shuffled off, and then the developer, I don't even know if the developers still exist.
I was about to say, yeah, they're defunct now. I remember they made a game called Triad Wars, which was kind of like the idea with that was Sleeping Dogs, but an MMO.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work, and they went out of business. And so, but I'm sure Square Enix, because it was a Square Enix game, I'm sure they own the IP. So it's just a matter of getting a different studio on board.
Well, Square Enix has been, as we've discussed privately, a fucking roller coaster of disasters.
Yeah.
Who knows? Like, I mean, for them to if they have the rights and the IP to that, like, they're not gonna fucking touch it.
Yeah, probably
they've had
not.
so many misses and so few hits lately. Yikes.
Yeah, that's well, hopefully it can come back, because I would agree. I loved Sleeping Dogs. I actually considered replaying it last year, like the definitive edition, because I never played the definitive edition, but I didn't. Next one for me, also this is a fighting game, not a beat 'em up like Sleeping Dogs. Def Jam Fight for New York. or like
Ooh,
just something
hell
in
yeah.
that franchise. Because I know they did a Def Jam game on 360 that I never played, so I don't
Mhm.
remember if that one was any good. But Def Jam Fight for New York on Xbox, I played
Yeah.
and I loved like being able to fight Fat Joe as Snoop Dogg. Like,
Hell yeah.
give it, come
It's
on, like
just
bring it
such a
back.
fun, and the soundtrack to those games were
They
always
were
so
so good, and like
fucking
the
good.
story that they put together probably doesn't hold up at all. It's probably trash, but I remember loving it as a kid.
Yeah.
I went through that game so many times. But and like there's so many new rappers obviously since then. So like
Yeah.
I don't know how it would work because I don't know like how like because it was anyone like affiliated with Def Jam Records, but something like that could be really cool if we were
I
to
like
bring
it.
back that type of game.
I like it. Patrick, I'm coming up on my final ones.
Okay.
So I'm gonna tell you three, and I want you to tell me which one you want me to talk about.
Okay. Okay.
One, Dante's Inferno.
Okay.
Two, Little Big Planet.
Okay.
Three, Mod Nation Racer.
So Little Big Planet, we got Sackboy.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to pick that.
Okay.
Sackboy was very different than Little Big Planet. So I think bringing Little Big Planet itself coming back, I think would make sense, but I'm not going to pick that. Mod Nation Racers, I feel like the kart racing genre is jam packed.
Okay.
So I'm going to go Dante's Inferno.
Dante's Inferno. All right. Dante's Inferno ends on a huge cliffhanger.
Oh, okay.
The game itself was a very interesting retelling of the Divine Comedy. Um, and essentially, you play as Dante going through the circles of hell, and you're trying to find your wife who has sacrificed herself to the devil to make sure that you make it back from the Crusades alive. At the end of the game, you beat the devil, and then you go to Paradisium, and there's all these giants around, and it's like you still don't have your wife, and it's like, and now you must continue, and it kind of ends,
Okay.
and you're like, fuck. And then they never made another game. They released a movie that told the whole story with like 8 different directors, all animated, really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
I think the story itself is awesome. If I can't get a sequel, give me a remake. I understand it is that kind of genre of games is past. It was like a God of War style hack and slash that we just don't see anymore. But honestly, like we don't see him anymore. And
Sure.
I think the closest thing that we've gotten is like Devil May Cry. But I really want to see another hack and slash that's not Devil May Cry or not Bayonetta.
Sure.
I think a team and they're very spotty. But like Platinum Games, I think could make like a really cool version of it or like remake the game from the ground up would be really cool. But that was like it was one of my first Platinums I ever got.
Yeah, I remember
Um,
you singing praises of that game back in the day.
yeah, I loved it. Played on the PlayStation 3. Absolutely fucking love that game. And for the longest time, it was there was rumors there would be a movie that was going to be made about it from director Fede Alvarez
Okay.
was going to direct a live action Dante's Inferno that was going to be based off the video game.
Hmm.
And that has been in development hell for over a decade. So I don't think we'll ever see that. But, you know, I don't think there's a world in which this game couldn't be remade or just fucking re released.
Sure.
EA has the rights. That might mean nothing or might mean everything to the reason why that we've never seen it again. But I
Yeah.
think that the game definitely has potential to be a franchise. I
Hmm.
think that they could have done a lot with that outside of what they had originally come up with, and I think that we need it again. I think we need more hack and slash games like that. That's all I'm gonna
I
say.
can get down with that. I'm gonna do the same thing you did. I'm gonna give you 3 options. I want you to pick which one we're gonna green light. Road Rash,
Okay.
Conker's Bad Fur Day,
Ooh.
or Dark Cloud.
You know, Road Rash is
If
a
none
lot.
of those speak to you, I have a few other options.
I kind of want to hear what your few other options are, just out
Uh,
of curiosity.
sure, I have 3 more because
Okay.
I depending on what you were gonna say. So I have Guitar Hero.
Okay.
I have Simpsons Hit and Run,
Oh God.
And then finally, a franchise I actually don't care about, but I would be interested to see what a new one would look like is Star Fox.
Mm,
So those are my
mm.
options.
I'm gonna go with Simpsons Hit and Run.
Okay. Simpsons Hit and Run, for those who might not remember, this was a game on the PS2 era of consoles where it was essentially Crazy Taxi, but set in the world of The Simpsons. And I feel like there was a little bit, there might have been more to it than just being a Crazy Taxi clone, but I just remember it as a Crazy Taxi clone. But there would be these missions where you'd have to take Marge to the school, and then you'd pick up someone on the other side of town and take them to the gas station or whatever. And it was just essentially like a time trial, and there would be
Yeah,
obstacles in your way and all
it
sorts of
was.
things.
Yeah, it was like a blend of like Crazy Taxi and Grand Theft Auto because you would also have
That's
stuff
right.
where it was like follow behind this car and pick up nuclear waste, or
That's right. That's right.
take Krusty to the Krusty Burger, and while on the way you're gonna have to do all this other crazy shit.
And like the evolution of video games, there are just certain types of games that just don't get made anymore. And I think
Yeah,
a lot of the time there is a good reason why. And I think Simpsons Hit and Run might fall within that. But also, I could even see this being done for something that's like more relevant today or more popular today, like a Rick and Morty or like something like
ooh,
that, like a
yeah,
uh, really popular franchise. Not to say that The Simpsons isn't still hugely popular, but Simpsons in like the early 2000s was like I feel like 3 times as big as Rick and Morty is today. Like
yeah,
it was so huge that there were so many different licensed Simpsons games back then. Um, some were awful, some were really fun, like Hit and Run. And
Hit and Run I
so,
think was the best.
I think so too. And but yeah, they're just it's that kind of like double A like arcadey game that honestly Dante's Inferno kind of the same, just in a different
Yeah,
genre. Where it's like we just don't really get these like because games cost so much more money to make now and they're much more of a risk. I feel like we just don't get those anymore. Those like mid-tier risky titles we just don't get. And I would love to see something like Simpsons Hit and Run come back, Kamen.
yeah. I think Simpsons Hit and Run would have been like a perfect pickup for like THQ Nordic.
Yeah.
Like they would pick it up, they would be able to like remaster and make it look good. With Disney owning the rights to The Simpsons, that's going to be tough. Now Disney has been a lot more forthcoming on giving up like to have video games being made, whether it be Star Wars or Marvel. But a lot of times that's all you were getting.
Right. We're
We're
not
not
getting
even
any.
getting.
Yeah.
We're in the heyday of the licensed video game, where pretty much any franchise would get a licensed game, is it's dead and gone,
Yeah.
unfortunately. You had things like there was a fucking Airbender, the last Airbender. There
Yeah.
was one of those.
That's
I
true.
remember Platinum Games made Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that was a critical failure. But then they made the critical darling Transformers, and you're like, you can have like we can still have these games, but Patrick, you're correct that games cost more money and there
Yeah.
are bigger risks. You're dedicating a studio to make a game that could be working on something else, and so what do you allocate those studios times to do? And Disney, I know you're listening.
Disney, look at us.
Look at us. Get your shit together,
Get
bro.
it together.
Get it together. Come on.
Bring it back.
Just bring it back. Just
Bring
bring
it
it
back.
back.
I do. I started laughing a minute ago because I had a stupid idea that I want to pitch
Okay.
to you.
Yeah, pitch me.
So it's Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Okay.
We're bringing back Conker's Bad Fur Day, but instead of Conker, or it's still Conker, but because so in order to do this pitch, I think I should take a step back and just explain quickly
Bring
what
it back.
Conker's Bad Fur Day was. Let's bring it back.
Bring it back.
So Conker's Bad Fur Day was one of, if not the only M-rated game on N64. You played as
Okay.
a squirrel named Conker, and you were tasked with finding your girlfriend. You got really drunk one night, and all of a sudden you were in this completely different place, and you're trying to get home to your girlfriend, Barry, I believe her name was. And on your way there, you go through these different worlds. It was like a Super Mario 64 type game where there would be these different worlds you would go to. And ultimately, they like a lot of them had set pieces at the end that was like a spoof of a movie. There was Matrix, there was Saving Private Ryan, those are the only two that I can think of off the top of my head, but there were like 4 or 5 spoofs of movies. So my pitch for the new Conquer is that we're going through the filmography of Timothy Chalamet. We have a spoof of Call Me By Your Name. We have a whole Dune section. Maybe we get like a French Dispatch. We just go through the big Timothy Chalamet hits as Conquer, as Timothée. Just saying.
I mean, you know my distaste for Timothée.
I sure do. Which is why if I can convince you, Kamen,
can he be the final boss?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, then yeah, I'm completely sold.
And because I feel like that has to be part of it. Is that like, why are we going through these? I mean, some of his movies are the biggest movies, like Dune, but why are we going through these very obscure movies that aren't giant blockbusters other than Dune? And it's because there is some form of simulation happening that is being controlled by Timothée that we have to take
Conquers bad Timothée.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here we go. We just named it.
Yeah.
You know what I gotta say about that? Bring it back.
Bring it back, y'all. Well, why don't we bring it back to the end of our show, Kamen?
Okay.
This was a great time. I've been having a blast. I could probably go for another 35 minutes at least. Very specifically 35 minutes.
Just 35. That's all I got left.
But that's all I got left. But hey, thanks for going on this ride with us. Why don't you tell us via Twitter, Instagram, or by email, what game franchises do you want to come back? I know we talked about roughly 11 in depth with another like 5 or 6 thrown in there, but there's more out there we didn't talk about. Yeah. What do you want to come back? Don't hold your punches. Tell us. And if there are ones that we say we want back that you're like, Patrick Kamen, you're fools, tell us that too. Let's have a discussion.
Let's have a discourse.
Let's bring it back.
Let's bring it back,
y'all. Again, thank you for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at SpotGamesPod. You can follow us on Instagram at Spotlight Games Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Patrick Schwag. You can follow Kamen on Twitter at Kid Kamen. You can email us. You can be on the show, mail at spotlightgames.net. Don't forget to go listen to the newest episode of Save Trash Cinema, Leprechaun. They took me gold, as Warwick Davis would say. And why don't you go over to YouTube and give us a subscription so we can start customizing our channel, because we're still stuck not being able to customize our channel. So we want to do great things for you, the listeners and the viewers, but we need more support. So tell your grandma to subscribe, even if she's never going to watch our videos. And then also, again, if you're still here, keep your eye out for the Elden Ring giveaway. We're going to be doing that this week. We'll probably announce a winner on air next week. So keep an eye on socials for that, so that you can be punished like Kamen is currently being punished by Elden Ring. Kamen, any last words for our sweet listeners?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Bring it back.